Hi everybody, welcome to King County Reads. I'm Terry Tazioli. Which library is the busiest in the King County Library system? Here's a hint. It's pretty close to a little software company that started back in 1975. Dreaming of starting your own business? Well, you can get great advice at a 425 startup workshop at the library. And what are you reading? Librarian Emily Calkins has some great suggestions for all of us. Welcome to the Redmond Library, a high-tech, diverse, busy, global hub for a city that has seen a lot of change. Believe it or not, Redmond at the north end of Lake Sammamish was once called Salmonburg. Locals used to say, migrating salmon in the lake were so thick you could haul them out with a rake. Redmond's story, of course, is entwined with a little software company founded in 1975 by Bill Gates and Paul Allen. Today, Microsoft's annual net income is more than $16 billion, and Redmond is home to sophisticated tech workers from all over the world. It keeps the Redmond Library busy. In fact, it's the busiest library in the King County Library system. Yay! It's also home to the East Side's only nonprofit and philanthropy resource center, a very special kind of information center for nonprofits and grant writers. Welcome everybody. We are here with Jeanette Privat, who is the Public Services Librarian for the King County Library System. And here we are in Redmond, where you're headquartered, right?
I'm work out of here, yes, but I serve the whole system.
And you serve the system in a very unique way. Tell us about this program.
It's a program aimed at assisting nonprofits in the various things they do. We work with many different types of nonprofits, covering things like national parks, covering things that may be helping with homelessness. We may be working with a theater. I've found that nonprofits are doing most everything.
So if I'm a nonprofit and I come to you, what kinds of things do you offer? Would you offer me? What kind of help?
We have several databases, and they do different things. The Foundation Center that I mentioned does provide one that includes 140,000 foundation and corporate giving programs, and you can search any word in the database, so you can be extremely specific. Another database is indexing individuals, which we call major donors, and again, you can search what their interest is. So you can find that John and Sally Smiths are very interested in the environment, and they typically give in the 10 to 20,000 range. That's something that really helps them get to people who are going to be able to donate and in a large way. And they also are very interested in the field that the nonprofit is in.
I have no doubt you've had some success stories along the way because you've been at it for a while.
Yeah.
Talk about one.
One of the ones regards Haybrook Ridge, and they came to me to find funding, and we'd helped them in the standard way, but then they said, we have a potential matching gift. There was a potential clear cutting of 100 acres by a corporation who shall remain nameless, and they really wanted to prevent that. And so we were able to find some funders and get them together, and we were able to help them. And there are trails and views off Haybrook Ridge, so it really is a success story. And because I've been in the field for a long time, I do know a lot of people and know the kinds of work they do. So it is something that I most often can refer people or get to the people who could help them.
It's always been hard work. Have you found your work increasing as these years have gone by?
It has increased, but resources have also increased, and certainly with technology, that is something that there's a lot more resources than when I started, and they're a lot easier to use and to find. So that's extremely valuable.
And it's also free.
It's also free, and it's interesting because we have several databases that we pay for so they can use. Doing a couple days research here or through our resources and our services, they don't have to pay themselves, and that's extremely valuable to a nonprofit.
That's a great program, I think. Thank you so much. It's good to meet you and good to hear about this.
Thank you, Terry. You're helping me accomplish my goal.
There you go. Dreaming of starting your own business? Well, you can get great advice at a 425 Startup Workshop at the library. We're here with Audrey Barbakoff, who is the Community Engagement and Economic Development Manager for the King County Library System.
Good job. It's a bit of a
Thank
mouthful.
you. How often are you asked to say all that in one minute?
You have to take a deep breath first.
There you go. I love this idea. The Startup 425 Foundations.
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
So Startup 425 Foundations is a series of classes meant to help anyone who wants to start a business or grow a small business get the foundational knowledge that they need to be really successful.
Mm-hmm. Where'd this come from? Where'd the idea come from?
I wish I could take credit, but it comes from the very best place, which is the community.
Mm-hmm.
Startup 425 is actually a partnership of 5 cities on the east side. So here in Redmond, also Renton, Issaquah, Kirkland, and Bellevue.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the economic development staff at all of those cities got together and said, hey, we need to support entrepreneurs. We have this great creative milieu here. We have all these brilliant people. Let's help them start businesses. So it's all those cities working together and working with Seattle SCORE. And the library stepped in as an accessible, familiar place for community members to come and get all of the fantastic knowledge that these folks have to share.
And Seattle SCORE is?
Sorry, it is the Service Corps of Retired Executives, SCORE. So it is these wonderful, brilliant volunteers, all folks who have had some kind of experience starting a business or running a company, who now volunteer their time.
You have a lot of partners with this.
We do, and that's what makes it so robust.
Are they the only ones, or are there more examples of the kinds of partners who leap into this?
Wonderful.
arena?
So for Startup 425 specifically, this foundations class, those are the key partners. There's also funding from the Port of Seattle that helps make that happen. But across the system, we work with a really wide variety of partners. We want to work with folks who are at that regional level, but also really capture those great hyper-local people who have lots of expertise, who have started a business really successfully, who have something to share, as well as those sort of big umbrella service organizations like the Small Business Administration. So depending on where you look in the county, you can see all kinds of classes. For example, with the SBA, we often offer some startup classes as well in other parts of the county.
Well, a couple questions. Who comes to you? What kinds of examples what kinds of ideas do they come to you with?
Yeah, so at the most recent Startup 425 Foundations, we asked all the participants in a survey, what do you do? What kind of business do you want to start? And it was really amazing to see the variety. We had homemakers, looking to sell crafts or sell food, to get a little bit back out there into the job market. We had technology pros who have a great idea for a disruptive technology, but don't necessarily know the fundamentals of how to make it a business. We have herbalists, architects. So it's just this really rich, diverse variety of businesses.
And then what do you offer them? So I've got this idea for a business. I'm not going to tell you what it is because it's not fully developed, but I'm going to come to you with, here's my idea. Now what do I do?
Fantastic. Well, the first place I'll send you, if you're here in Redmond, is to the Startup 425 Foundation class on ideation, which is designed specifically to help you formulate that idea into something that can really be the core of a business. Once you're through classes, everyone is a little bit different. Everyone's business is a little different, and we recognize that here at the library. One of the big advantages of working with a public library is that we can respond to your individual needs. So I'm going to connect you with your local librarian, and they can help you find the kinds of resources that are right for you. So for example, if you're thinking about, well, gosh, now I know what kind of business I want, but I'm not sure what kind of legal structure I need for that business, you can make an appointment with a lawyer. at many of our libraries. We have short legal clinics. Of course, they won't represent you, and it has to be civil, not criminal. But certainly at least to have a quick chat or to get a referral to someone. You can also meet with one of those mentors from SCORE. You can get ongoing coaching from a mentor who will meet with you on a regular basis and talk you through the steps that you need to take to get your business off the ground. We have some fantastic online resources. One of my personal favorites is one called Reference USA, and it is a marketing database. So let's say you've formulated that business idea and you're ready to start maybe researching your competition or reaching out to some potential customers. A lot of people at that point are going to go to a company and they are going to pay quite a bit of money for a list that says, hey, you want to open a hair salon and you're thinking about this neighborhood, and here are some names, addresses, phone numbers, emails, where you can send a direct mailer out to some folks who are probably pretty likely to be interested in your services. Right? That's something a business is often going to pay for. You've already invested in your local library, so we're going to help you do that. We have this database, Reference USA, where a librarian can teach you how to look up all that information yourself. You can pull a list. It can give you even specific names and addresses. You can push that right into Excel, make it into mailing labels, and there's your direct mailers.
Okay, so part of me is just sort of blown away because I keep saying this to people I talk to from the library system. This is free. That's incredible.
Yeah, and part of our mission is our strategic focus is to create opportunity through meaningful connection. Right? That is why we're here. We want to help people be successful, and we especially want to help people who maybe traditionally haven't had the most access to the resources you need to start a business be successful.
Thank you so much. This is
Thank
great.
you.
I really appreciate it, and it's good to meet you, Audrey.
And it's lovely to meet you too.
And we got to come back in a year or two and talk about some of your success stories, some of the people that you all launched.
I will look forward to that very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Redmond's library is, of course, a community center.
Community Court. Mr. Lotzkar, I'll have you call your first case that's ready.
It is now also home to a community court, a pilot program to try to help people get their lives back on track.
Theft, shoplifting, low-level offenses that often end in criminal charges before a judge. Now there's a new approach, Redmond's Community Court. But it's not in a courtroom.
I don't hold court in my regular courtroom. We hold court in the library to have it less intimidating. In my own courtroom, I sit higher up, as most judges do. In the library for community court, I'm at the same level as everyone is.
Wonderful. Yeah. That's great news. Yeah. Now, tell me how the counseling's going.
Instead of just punitive sanctions, the court tries to address the underlying reasons for the crime.
A lot of our participants may be homeless, may be struggling financially. So most of the offenses are thefts, criminal trespasses.
Repeat offenders that are involved in the criminal justice system, usually because of quality of life crimes due to their homelessness or substance use disorder issues or mental health issues. These folks traditionally have been on regular court calendars, and they've been cycling in and out of the justice system for years.
You attended some of your sessions last week, but not quite all of them. Is that correct?
So we may identify that someone needs mental health treatment, a drug and alcohol evaluation, drug and alcohol treatment, employment services.
And they can sign up for services right next door.
We have a community resource center that's on site at the library, and that resource center is open to all members of the public, not just our participants.
It definitely helps to have a resource center and connect people right away when they go into the court system, to have something totally different and have a collaborative team that's really invested in helping people, and they know that.
So the idea is that you get folks connected to the services that address the underlying issues, and then through that they're able to then get their lives better, more healthier, and commit less crimes and save taxpayers money, so it's sort of a win-win across the board.
And the community service, when we last talked, you were thinking about using some of your cooking skills. Yeah.
And we always include community service as a way to pay back the community where the offense occurred. So we're looking at, number one, accountability. Number two, allowing people the opportunity to keep this matter off their record if they comply with the services. If they don't, then they will come back and see me in the traditional court.
I'm looking forward to you having your case dismissed. You're welcome to come here every week if you wish and participate as long as you want. Okay? Good deal? All right.
We have people who have been chronically homeless out here for a long time, really making steps to get into housing and doing better and getting on medication. So it's a great court.
And if we give these people the opportunities to succeed and address the issues that they have, they won't be back at the stores that they may have stolen from or trespassed from, and they can feel that they're a part of the community. The community can feel that these individuals are part of the community as well.
I would love to see you back in, because I think, I envision you being our new outreach people.
So I think that our program is providing people the pathway to dignity.
An incredible program here at the Redmond branch of King County Library Services. It's just amazing. So is Mary Comstock, who's the librarian services manager for this system.
Thank you, Terry.
You got to tell us more about this.
This is something that has been years in the making. We here at the Redmond Library have been providing resources to folks in the community by bringing in nonprofit agencies. Previously, the last several years, we'd been doing it once a month. So sort of a precursor to the Community Resource Center. And we'd been doing that about once a month. And at the same time, we started a strategic partnership with the City of Redmond through their homeless outreach specialist, Kent Hay, who you saw in the video. Kent was doing office hours here, still does, once a week, and came to us and said, you know, I know we're doing the Community Discovery Day, but something we've done in Seattle called Community Court might work really well here, and we could perhaps morph our Community Discovery Day into a resource center paired with a community court.
And the folks who are going through this system, if you will, or through the community court, probably are finding this a much easier and maybe less stressful procedure than going to downtown Seattle or one of the district courts.
We're really trying to preserve their dignity through this process.
What kinds of things have you seen that give you like, oh, I think we did the right thing?
When it's a graduation, I like to be in the courtroom, if I can. And the very first graduation we had, she stood up and spoke and talked about her experience. She told us about how when she did her community service hours, she also was asked by the judge to seek employment. And so she went to the community service hours that she did and did such a great job that she told us at her graduation they offered her a job. So to go from I'm in this community court to I'm remanded to do certain things, one of which is community service, to then be offered a job by that agency, it doesn't get better.
What are they graduating from?
It depends on so many factors. Obviously, what their offense was. Depends on what the judge remands them into. And I might not, as a librarian, I'm hoping I'm using the right word, but Judge P, will take a look at what the offense is, take a look at the individual. Obviously, their defense attorneys are there. The prosecutors from the City of Redmond are there. And they'll decide together what is appropriate. So it could be something like community service. You will seek these agencies in the Resource Center. You will take a look at some of the resources the library has to help you further your training. One of the databases we have is lynda.com, which is something the library system purchases as a subscription for all patrons, not just community court participants, and it has a plethora of coursework in there. So they might be told, you know, you need to seek this education. They might be asked to seek housing, mental health counseling. And so once they fulfill all of the requirements that Judge P has put there for them, and their defense attorney and the prosecutors have agreed to, once those things are completed, then their case can be dismissed. And at that point, graduation.
Absolutely. And the record is clean.
Correct.
Right?
It is a partnership between not just the three partners, the library system, the City of Redmond, and King County District Court. It's a partnership with that individual. We are here to help you.
And the Resource Center, I know you mentioned this, and the story does too, is open to anybody.
Exactly.
Right? It's wide open to the community.
When the Resource Center is open, we encourage people to come in and use it no matter what their circumstances are. So they might need an Orca Lift card. They might need some emergency food assistance because HopeLink provides emergency food, no-cook emergency food during the resource center. They might need to connect with Eastside Legal Assistance Program because they're there. They might need to connect with Department of Licensing or DSHS because they're there. So that's just a few of the resources. And so when we have, every Wednesday, when we have community court in the Community Resource Center, we make an announcement in the library that it's happening. It's going to be happening for the next 2 hours. We even have a tech tutor in there, Terry. So if you need help with your computer, I know.
Yes.
If you need help with your computer, if you need assistance with some software, not necessarily us installing it on your computer, but helping you troubleshooting some of the things that you might want to learn, we have a tech tutor there who can do drop-in assistance. It's open for everyone.
Mary Comstock, thank you so much.
Thank you,
This is
Terry.
great, and good luck with the program.
Yes.
You got to come back.
Come on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Come at Community Court.
I'll just sit there and offer
And the
my
Community
wisdom.
Resource Center.
There you go.
Absolutely. Thanks,
Thank
Terry.
you, Mary. Thank you. I'm here with one of my favorite people, Emily Calkins, Reader Services Program Coordinator for King County Library Services. And we get to talk books, and I'm glad you're here again.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. So I thought what we would do today is give you a little preview of Book Match, which is our personalized recommendations.
Okay.
So basically we ask 3 questions. People fill out a little form, and then we give them a personalized list of recommendations. So I sent you these 3 questions.
Yes, you did.
And you sent me
And I'm
some
supposed
answers.
to remember the answers now, right?
So our first question is, tell us about some of your favorite books and authors.
Yeah.
And you told us about There There by Tommy Orange, which came out earlier this year, and Ohio, which came out earlier this year.
It just did.
Sing Unburied Sing,
Yeah.
which is a wonderful novel.
It really is.
A couple of nonfiction titles, Radium Girls, and
The
also
Sun Does Shine.
The Sun Does Shine.
That's Anthony Ray Hinton's book.
Yeah. And Jonathan Evanson's new book.
You're good.
So those are the books you like. And then the
Okay.
next thing that we ask people is, what did you like about those books?
The Sun Does Shine by Anthony Ray Hinton. Anthony Ray was on death row for 30 years in Alabama. He essentially was railroaded for 2 murders he did not commit and was arrested. I believe he was in his late 20s. And he writes about his time in prison and how he finally was exonerated by an incredible man, Brian Stevenson, who heads an organization called the Equal Justice Initiative, which is in Alabama, of all places. And Brian and his team got him out. And Brian himself has written a great book called Is it Just Mercy? Is that right? It's terrific. Won Carnegie Medal. Library, your medal. He won. But this Anthony Ray, to me, is an astonishing human being. How someone could be imprisoned on death row for 30 years and survive the way this man has survived. I heard him speak in Seattle earlier this year. I think it was the 50th anniversary of Dr. King's murder. And he had the entire audience, including me, in tears. He is incredible. The light this man gives off, I think this book is an absolute must read. Just if it's the human condition maybe, but how powerful we can be as human beings and what we can overcome. Amazing.
So we ask that question, and then we ask, what are you looking for in your next read?
I'm just a fanatic for anything written by Louise Penny, who's Canadian. She is a mystery writer. Her protagonist is Inspector Armand Gamache, who I just love. But even more than that, I like the village where he lives, 3 Pines. Louise has some of the most wonderful, incredible, weird characters I've ever come across, and they show up every book. And I just want to go back to 3 Pines.
Yeah.
Okay, what are these guys doing today? So I'm kind of in the, these are books I have to read, and these are books I just need a break. Only a good break, and that's Louise. And that's her, I think this is her 13th or 14th in this series.
So then we take all of that information
Yes.
that you've given us, and we come back with a list of recommendations.
Very cool.
So I picked 7 for you, and I'm going
Okay.
to try and go real quick so we can
Okay.
talk briefly about all of them.
And if I start to shrink, it just means I haven't read these yet. Oh no.
That's okay.
Emily's making me feel guilty again. Your turn.
So When I was thinking about what you said about the human condition and sort of books that have these wonderful, memorable characters, I started with that. And a couple of the novels that you mentioned have multiple narrators. So for that, I would recommend The Come Down by Rebecca Frumkin. It came out earlier this year. It follows two families in Cleveland. It starts in the 70s as they sort of grapple with the implications of one explosive night. And it's a multi-voiced, multi-generational saga that's full of memorable characters. So that seems right up your alley. So then you mentioned mysteries. So I picked out a couple of mysteries for you. They're both, one of them's a historical mystery called A Rising Man by Abir Mukherjee. It's set in Calcutta in 1919.
I have heard of this.
And it follows this newly arrived British officer as he partners with one of the few Indian officers in the new police force in Calcutta, the colonial police force. So it's got a really rich sense of place and these two men who are sort of figuring out how to work together across cultures and full of historical information as well. And then I also would suggest Crimson Lake by Candace Fox. It's set in contemporary Australia, and the main character is a former police officer who's been accused of a really hideous attack on a young girl. So he's gone to trial and the case has been dropped for lack of evidence, but he's sort of guilty in the eyes of the community. So he flees to this little town and he's recruited by another accused criminal for this PI agency. So they're working together to solve another crime, and meanwhile the question of did he do this thing or did he not is sort of lingering in the background. So really fast-paced mystery with really interesting characters, and you're just kind of thinking, could he have done it? He seems like a good guy, but it's sort of, it's never really clear. So those are the mysteries I'd suggest. For nonfiction, two picks. One is Code Girls by Liza Mundy. You mentioned Radium Girls in your form when you filled it out. And this is a similar sort of story about a little piece of history that people maybe haven't heard about. During World War II, the military recruited like 10,000 American women to work as code breakers. All of that work was classified, and so these women couldn't talk about it. They told their friends and family that they had clerical jobs, and all of this was recently declassified. This author is a journalist. She went back, did tons of interviews, dug into all of these files, and wrote this incredible story.
Good idea.
And then for memoirs, I picked one that's coming out in October called There Will Be No Miracles Here by Casey Gerald.
Yes.
Have you heard of this one?
Yes, I have.
Have you read it?
I'm about a third of the way through.
Oh, good.
It's one of 50 books sitting right around the bed that
Yep, exactly. So it's incredible.
It really is.
He's had a fascinating life, and he came from sort of this very unconventional childhood. He didn't have a lot of support from his family. He sort of was running wild, but he managed to get a football scholarship to Yale, went on to the Harvard Business School, incredibly successful, and the memoir sort of grapples with what it means to be a black man and a gay man, and what success really looks like in this country, and what are the implications of that. So it's wonderful. And then I have one kind of wild card, which we like to include in Book Match if we can. It is Mapping the Interior by Stephen Graham Jones.
I haven't heard of it.
It's a slim little novella. And I picked it because you mentioned that you liked Sing Unburied Sing. So like that novel, it has a teenage protagonist, and it uses the supernatural to grapple with questions of trauma, family trauma, individual trauma, social cultural trauma. So we have this 13-year-old boy who wakes up in the middle of the night in this trailer that he shares with his mom and his little brother, and he thinks he sees his father in full traditional Indian regalia. Well, his father is dead. And so he goes into this investigation of, is this his father? Can he bring him back? So it's some similar themes to Sing Unburied Sing, and really a wonderful and a short read for all of those to go in between all those stacks of books that you're waiting for. So that's a little preview of our Book Match service.
That's a great service.
It is.
And it's available throughout the system.
Yep. So it's online. You just go to kcls.org/bookmatch. There's a short form you fill out, and within a week or two, you'll get a list of recommendations created just for you by a librarian.
Okay. Like I need more to read, right?
You and anyone else who's interested.
Okay, fine. I'm going to let. It's for all of you. You just go do that. Emily, thank you.
Yeah, my
pleasure.
Is great. Always fun to come talk to you.
Come back. We're going to do more of this stuff.
Sounds good.
And it's my monthly guilt trip. I like it. Thank you, Emily.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for joining us on King County Reads. Be sure to visit us at kcls.org.